We're going to talk about this more. Joining us from Istanbul is Gediz Dogay, who is a doctor of nutrition. First of all, this is something that is news to a lot of people, these harmful synthetic dyes. Are they really that harmful? What's in there? What do we know? What does science say about their link to ADHD, to cancer, to other health risks?
Hello. Well, thanks for asking this. Many people are very concerned, not just in the US, but all over the world. To be honest with you, there aren't a massive number of studies in this area, mainly due to the nature of this kind of research, especially involving children. But the evidence so far is quite supportive of the hypothesis that synthetic food exposure is indeed associated with adverse behavioral effects in children, especially hyperactivity. For example, there's a recent review of past clinical trials, and they identified about 25 high-quality clinical studies. And in 64% of these studies, a positive association was found between the exposure to artificial food dyes and neurobehavioral outcomes in children. But when you ask about ADHD, at the moment, we can't really say that there is enough evidence that says food dye directly cause ADHD, but we do know that it can cause hyperactivity. And in turn, this might make ADHD symptoms even worse. But as I said, more research is needed. And to my knowledge, in need of the further research, FDA is now partnering with National Institutes of Health to conduct research on how food additives actually impact children's health and development. So I believe these efforts will shed light on the potential harms caused by artificial dyes.
It does seem crazy that we're looking at petroleum-based dyes that for some reason were allowed into food in the first place, especially that we know that these products are heavily marketed to kids as well. How did this ever happen?
Yeah, well, good thing that you asked. Well, there are multiple reasons for that. If you look at the historical context, in the early 20th century, it's interesting, but synthetic dyes from petroleum were seen as a technological breakthrough because they were cheaper, they were more stable and more vivid than natural colorants. And that made them very easy to use in the mass food production. Those bright and artificial colors make products more visually appealing, especially to kids. Think of neon cereals, candies, and snacks. So the food industry heavily marketed these visual cues to children as part of their branding, without initially considering the long-term effects on the human health. But again, back then, there was a lack of early evidence on the health effects and safety of these products, simply because it wasn't being monitored that much. As I just said, only in the recent decades, more studies emerged showing potential adverse effects, especially in children.
I guess a lot of us don't know what is actually in there, and we're going to see a phase out by 2027. Is that really too far away, considering that these are the health risks that are involved? Should we maybe see some action a bit sooner? And certainly the EU, UK, countries like that, will they follow suit with a similar ban, knowing now what we know about these additives?
It's hard to comment on that, but I can surely say that European Food Safety Agency, for instance, they already recently re-evaluated all food additives, not just dyes, but all additives that were authorized before 2009. So in light of the new information they have, they lowered the allowed daily intake for several food colorants. For example, the usual suspect, red number 3, which is now banned by the FDA, is only allowed in candied fruits and cocktail cherries in the EU as part of this recent re-evaluation. And at the moment, there are dyes that are currently being reconsidered for elimination in the US are also under strict regulations in Europe. Those are yellow number 6, 5, 6, and red number 40. The EU currently requires that products that contain either of these three dyes have a warning, safety warning, that they can actually affect attention in children. So my answer would be yes to your question. European authorities have been closely monitoring the health effects of food additives, and this recent changes in the US will probably have an impact on global food authorities, not just the EU, but UK and other countries or continents, as you said.
Gediz, as a nutritionist, do we really know what we're putting into our bodies now? And I'm reading this: oat milk, soya, vegan meats, protein bars, they are all ultra-processed food. And 90% of people do not know what ultra-processed foods are. So how can we check this? How can we figure out what is ultra-processed? What do we need to be looking for?
Well, if you want to be careful about those artificial food dyes to start with, well, it's tricky because they are widely used in the industry, even in places that you would not normally expect, like breads and so on. Good thing is that they are always listed in the food labels. People can look up for FD&C or simply colors, like names, numbers, and colors. If you see red, yellow, blue, green on a label, it definitely has a synthetic petroleum-based dye in it. And the names usually indicate a color, so it's not hard to spot. People also can look for their technical names like endogotin, erythrocin, and tartazine, but these are, to my opinion, these are way too technical, and the best strategy would be to follow a healthy diet based on whole foods. I am a huge advocate of Mediterranean diets, where the majority of the food comes from whole foods, such as vegetables, fruits, and lean proteins. Following a Mediterranean diet is one of the best strategies to avoid ultra-processed foods, while also improving your overall health. The color comes...
I think it's convenience more than anything else for a lot of people. I think that's probably what it is, and we live in a world of convenience, which I think is what causes a lot of people for opting for these foods, where we think this is the easy solution. So easier said than done on avoiding these harmful E-numbers that we see so much of. But Gediz Dogay, I want to thank you so much for joining us. That was incredibly insightful to find out more about this.